it is an absolute honor to talk to you. The Scorpions were such a big part of my youth growing up in 1984. There were three bands that launched my love of hard rock music, and that was Iron Maiden, Twisted Sister, and the Scorpions.
I toured with them, especially with Iron Maiden. We did in the 80s several tours with them, And as you can see, I attributed this album completely to the 80s because for me, that was the best time in music, like you did probably also. You grew up in the 80s, probably with my music, also Iron Maiden and all the others. But I think the greatest songs were written in this period, and I made a running order of it. And for me, it was also something personal because I played with many of those people, many tours. Whitesnake, for example, That's why here I go again, Then Robert Palmer was a good personal friend of mine, came to my wedding. He lived in Milano, I lived in Monaco, so we saw each other all the time. Then John Jett was opening up for us on the European tour, 1984. She did the tour, and I always wanted to do this song. So finally, because I heard it always from the dressing room, because they were before us, they were the opening act, Then, as we saw the single, What About Love, was already a big hit from Heart, the 80s, And when I told Howard Leese, the original guitar player, I wanted to do the song again to make a statement, basically, what about love? What happened to love? Why is everybody suddenly hating each other? I know everybody's talking about war, atomic war, and all this shit, I said, you have to make a statement. And he came along and said, I'd be happy to make the statement with you together. The same goes for Dan Huff and Bob Daisley from Black Sabbath. So I was very happy to have those top musicians, play this song with me. And we did the video, as you can see, together. And the original writer, Jim Valance, is in the video also. He plays the piano.
I also wanted to tell you that you were a very bad influence on my younger brother, who was 2.5 years younger than me, because he tried to break a regular pair of drumsticks over his head, and he's never been the same since. So.
Yeah, I tell him, that these sick drumsticks, I didn't really break them on my head. They were, of course, cut before, So this was just a show effect, nothing else. So I hope he's not going to do it because it's going to hurt his head really bad.
Well, like I said, he hasn't been the same since.
Yeah. Probably hit his brain, Yeah, tell him my regards, But tell him not to do it anymore, because there's no point,
Oh my God, this was around 1980. 87 or 86 that he tried it. And I just remember going, you're so dumb.
I remember all those times, believe me. I spent most of the 80s, I spent in the United States, touring up and down, as you know. And also then we played, obviously, concerts with Heart. Since I have a girl singer in my band, you saw on the video, I said to her, also sing me a Pat Benatar song, Love is a Battlefield. I just wanted heavier, I played it much heavier, than the original, because I'm a heavy drummer, so obviously it had to go in this style. Did they send you the videos also? Then you saw my band.
Yes, they did, and the band is absolutely fantastic. And I was going to ask you about that. Like, what can you tell me about the people that you assembled for this band?
Well, there's Michael Voss, who is the singer in my band, together with with Vanessa, who you also heard. Van der Forst, is an artist name. And I think, especially when they see songs like What About Love, no, she's a good for the backing. Their voices go very well together. I Want to Know What Love Is. You can hear it very good. Also, she sings a kind of question-answer thing, or my song, Passion Was the Game, my Scorpion song. So I'm very happy to have her. She sings also another hard song on the album, The Streams. And of course, the John Jett song, I Love Rock and Roll. And this I'm going to do when I play live. This will be my last song in the show, because I saw it every night. People singing the song for 10 minutes, even after the band left already the stage. For me, it was a very important statement. Iron Maiden plays here in Germany, in Berlin, and I think in a few weeks from now. You know that, right? Another band who opened up for us 1982 or 81, around that time, or 83 even, when we had the Blackout album out, something like this. But I know them all a long time back, When I played with Michael Schenker,
yeah,
Rod Smallwood, you know him, you know.
Yeah, their manager. Yeah. Hmm.
I know him from my days in LA, you know, and he lives in Hove, which is the next city to me from Brighton, you know, where I live. So I said to him, why don't you take us as an opening act? Michael and me, you know, and Pete Way was then on bass, and Michael Voss was the singer. And he said, are you crazy? You know what they play before they go out on stage? The last song they play is Doctor, Doctor. You know, they're all big fans. You really think they go on after Michael Schenker? Forget it, you know. I never forget his words. But that's the truth, you know. So they were in the beginning big fans, you know. But I think they're still around, you know, so I'm taking my hat because it takes a lot, you know, to stay on top that long. And they're still a stadium band until this day, you know. And I know from Jovi also. So for me, seeing this, you know, if we done nothing, at least we done something good. We influenced a lot of American bands to play rock music, heavy rock music, of course, or hard rock, you know.
You have bands like Iron Maiden, which is so funny because I didn't realize that. I know they always play Doctor Doctor when they go out on stage, but I had no idea that there was the like the possibility that UFO and Maiden would do something together like that.
Never, never. Well, this was the band, we called ourselves Temple of Rock. And I toured with Michael Schenker about 6 years, and we made 3 DVDs, 3 albums. And it was a lovely time because he's such a great player. So it's always a pleasure to play with him. This is Michael Voss. He's a longtime producer. And he's my longtime friend and longtime singer, you know. And all the projects I worked, most of them he sung, you know. We just literally played with Michael also in his studio, making an acoustic album, which I like very much. You know, Michael plays wonderful on that album. And I think that comes out maybe this year in the autumn. And then I will see if he wants to tour it or not, you know. But he asked me already if I go on tour, would you come along? I said, yes, of course I come along. And Michael Voss would be the same thing. I don't know who would play bass, but that'd be easy to find a good bass player, you know.
In the 80s, there wasn't so many genres of music that you could get overwhelmed by. And so, you know, even looking at the list of songs, like the ones that weren't hard rock or metal songs or whatever, were songs that I loved because like I said, again, in the 80s, even if you were into hard rock and metal or whatever, like, you know, I loved the Police, you know, and I loved Phil Collins.
Phil Collins had to be on there because I'm a drummer. And I remember in the air tonight, as we all do, when we're sitting there to this quiet song, and then in the middle comes, I go, what was this, Rudolph? I said, play. I couldn't believe that, Phil. And I think most drummers in the 80s, every drummer I talked to loved this Phil, this intro, you know, from In the Air Tonight, you know. And for me, I know he has the same background than me. He also likes John Bonham like I do. So for me, I played it heavier. I played the song very heavy because that's my style, you know. But I like my version very much because it grooves very good, you know, especially in the end, you know.
The production is like out of this world.
Thank you. I've been doing it for a long time.
Well, so who oversaw the production? Was that you? Did you produce it yourself, or who did you have working with you?
What we did, you know, and the first song, What About Love, I just produced by myself. Then Michael Voss, my singer, he came into the game, and at the same time, Vanessa, you know, Vanderforst, she came in, and I heard her sing the background on What About Love, and I said to her, I think, you know, when we cover those songs, I'm planning also to cover songs from girls, and you should sing the One Heart song, you know, the Streams, then of course Love is a Battlefield, and John Jett's I Love Rock and Roll. And she did a great job of it, I think. And she sang also duet, you know, I Want to Know What Love Is with Michael Fox, and Passion Rules the Game, which comes out in 3-4 days from now, comes the new video. So watch out for it. If you don't find it, always go to my website and you can see it there then, you know. So on the 21st of March, the release date, yeah, Passion Rules the Game. I personally like my new version much better than the version I did with Scorpions many years ago, you know, because of the girl in there. So I told her, you know, go and sing the songs. And then we started from that moment on. I said to Michael, come on, you have to come in as a co-producer, you know. I picked the songs because each song meant something to me from my past, you know. Like the White Snake song, you know, Here I Go Again. I toured with this song in this band many times with the Scorpions, as you know.
Yeah.
And 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 Robert Palmer was just living down the road from me, literally. He lived down in Milano, was for me a 2-hour car drive just to visit him, and he came many times to Monte Carlo also to visit me, you know. So we've been hanging out together. So this is for me. Thank you, Robert. You know, so I think yeah, because we did a very heavy version. You know, we didn't play it light. You know, the drums aren't really big. You know, and the guitars were much more heavy and groovy. You know, so that was the idea behind it. And then, you know, it was for me, then it was, Passion Rules the Game was a good follow up. Also, Rocky Like a Hurricane. Those two songs, they sound for me now much fuller, much more modern because of all the things you can do now in the studio, you know. So for me, it was about the time to really do a tribute to the 80s because for me, it was the best time. It was the golden years. So not only for me, all those bands, you know, who became big, they all became big in the 80s. And most of them were our opening acts, John Bon Jovi, Metallica, all these kids. And I also had once an offer to produce Motley Crue. I remember this day when I was in the Whiskey at Go-Go in Los Angeles, and Tommy Lee came to me, Herman, finally to meet you. You know, nice to see you. Come on, we take you out. So they took me out, as you can imagine, a very wild night. And then they asked me, Tommy asked me, why don't you produce us? You know, we're going to be big band, you know. This wasn't the beginning, you know. And then everybody was hanging around in the rainbow in those days, and everybody had the same optimism, you know. And you could meet all those people there, like from Guns N' Roses also later on. All the big bands went to this club. Everybody was hanging out, and there was no jealousy. Just everybody was happy to be in the charts again.
The way the world is right now, especially here in America, it's all just very fucked up and very stressful. And for such a fun album to come out, it's an escape. Like, did you time it to be like this?
I said to myself, Herman, the message of love is timeless. You know, I can remember John Lennon when he wrote Imagine, you know. This was also a great peace song, you know, give peace a chance and stuff like this. So for me, this message here is also think about love more than hate. Because what's the point of building more weapons, you know, more undersea boats, more airplanes, more machine guns, you know, all those toys kill people. And in the end, if you really end up with an atomic war, like we nearly had that chance in Cuba when I was 12 years old, you remember Kennedy said, if you don't take these rockets down, then we're going to have World War III. And at the moment, when I watch all those politicians, we are really walking towards World War III with big, big steps. Now, think about this. There is no winners in the world war, in an atomic world war. Even if you have a bunker at home and you sit in your bunker and you open it up after 2 years, you will be dead immediately from the radioactivity. You open it up, you're finished. So there is no, the land, everything will be destroyed for 200 years. You cannot grow a tomato there or a cucumber. You will die on hunger, you know. I think somebody must have shit in our brains, you know. This is what I'm saying every day. What is the point of doing all those moves? Wouldn't it be much better to use all this money, which is spent on guns and tanks, and spend it on people who are hungry? Maybe wouldn't that make more sense? You know, we feed the world instead of killing the world. So for me, you know, this was a big statement, and I'm very happy my other boys went along, you know, and they did it for nothing. I said, I give you money for playing the guitars. No, I don't want anything. If I want to make the statement like you, it's a great statement. What about love? What happened to love? You know, this is the question we do here, you know. And I hope I can bring it across, because I hope I can go out with those musicians very soon on a tour.
Before I even listened to it, just looking at the track list, I was like, what an amazing collection of songs, because they're all fun, but they're also very nostalgic in a way that takes you back to a place where things were just a little more like innocent. And I know that sounds crazy, but like, you know, we didn't have the social media. We didn't have the overindulgent politicians that we have now. To go back with these songs and to hear them and to remember, like I remembered being 12 and 14.
we play those songs, I'm sure people will go crazy because they all can sing along. Everybody knows those songs.
You're a lyricist also. Like
Yeah.
you've written some incredible songs, and you wrote some of my favorite Scorpion songs. And a drummer writing lyrics is a pretty rare thing, but are you generally a writer at heart? Like, do you like to write poetry and things like that?
When I studied music, I studied also piano. So automatically, I started obviously to write on the piano, and that's how my songs come together. But being a drummer, like Passion was the game, I started with the drum beat because I liked the drum beat, and then put the piano afterwards on there, and then Klaus put the lyrics on that one. I did the music, Klaus lyrics. So with Rocky Like a Hurricane, Rudolph the music, and me the lyrics, you know. So for me, this was our biggest hit, you know, was Rocky Like a Hurricane. I never forget the day, and this is an all-time classic. I'm sure they'll still play Rocky Like a Hurricane in 100 years.
Even my wife, she's not a heavy metal person at all, you know, but she knows that song and she loves it. And when it comes on, like on my playlist, she goes, "Here I am."
This song has been in so many advertisements, you wouldn't believe it. So many movies, you know. Rock of Ages. I've been very proud that Tom Cruise sang my song, you know. So for me, you know, and also the advertisements we were in, Budweiser, Microsoft, everybody, you know, Samsung, whatever. So I think now is the time to do something new. That's why I feel very good about this project. I have the musicians behind me. So if any of those songs takes off in the charts, I'll be out in America tomorrow, I promise you, and tour it. You know? But without this, is no point to tour because then nobody knows you're out there.
I love that you have that positive outlook because,
Yeah,
you know, one of the things I said I was not going to do was to dwell on the Scorpions here because you get asked these questions so much, but like some focus on you as a person, as an artist. You're so much more fascinating than the stories of the Scorpions and like you not being in the band. Like I feel like people ask you that all the time. Do you get tired of that?
Has a time in life. I had my time in life and I had the golden years. I'm very proud of this and the golden years I spent with them in the 80s in America, you know. After I left, nothing much happened anymore. No more hits, you know. And I know the reason because the passion and the spirit left, you know, in the band. So now they just play their live gigs. They look at the clock, hour and a half an hour. But my show is over and I have a 500,000 more. And this is not my attitude, you know.
I was very lucky to see the Scorpions twice with the lineup that you were in and Francis Bukov also.
Yeah, of course.
And then I also saw the Scorpions twice after. And I have to say that it was a very strong statement as to the chemistry that you had and also the strength of that rhythm section, because when you take that out, you can't replace that when it's so much feel and emotion. It just like you could tell you were not there.
Well, as I can say, this thing is over. You know, the last drummer they had was James Kodak. He passed away. I'm very sad about this because he was a good guy. And then I wrote an email to them. I said, why don't we do something together again? And you know what? I didn't even get an answer. After 20 years being with those fuckers, not even an answer. I said, okay, fuck you. Fine, you know, because I can do my own thing, no problem. They can't, you know, because the chemistry we had, you're absolutely right, was unique. And if you fuck that up, you know, it's going to be hard to replace. And the people out there, the fans, they're not stupid, you know. They can hear immediately. They wrote me so many emails, you know. What happened, you know. I don't want to explain all the time. Everybody can do in life what they want. That's why we have a free will.
Yeah.
And so I respect this. And I think, you know, for me, the band has been over since 1996. There was nothing which they released after I left, which knocked me out, you know, where I said, wow, this is amazing. Even the last album would have told me it's going to be like a Blackout album. I said, has nothing to do with Blackout. You should have got Dieter Dirks, the producer, back in the band, and me writing some lyrics for you. And then we have a great album. But otherwise, what is this? Why you do this, you know? No answer. Face the Heat, you know. Bruce Fairbairn produced that Face the Heat album, you know. And he produced before that Slippery When Wet for John Bon Jovi, which was 60 for one in the charts in America. That broke him big time, you know. He was also in Russia.
We were talking about festivals, you know, we talked about the US Festival, like the Moscow Festival. Like looking back on the Moscow Festival, Like that is something that, because I was 16. I was 16 when that festival happened. And I remember watching it, on the pay-per-view, and like, that must have been a super emotional thing.
Yes. I remember when we all sitting in the plane, when we landed, I said to myself, what will happen now? I probably will get arrested and I spend the rest of my life in a Siberian jail, carrying stones from one side to the other, And I had really worse nightmares in my head, because don't forget, we were exactly 1 year before. We played 10 shows in Leningrad. So then it was still KGB, communistic everything. And I know people went to my suitcase and searched for something, you could see it, So you also had the feeling you've been watched 24 hours consistently, because KGB wanted to know what strangers do in their country, We could have been agents or God knows what they thought. But I tell you what, the people in Russia were one of the best rocking audiences in the world.
And I know the last time we talked, you talked about how, like, towards the end of your time in the Scorpions, that you kind of felt like the music was kind of starting to kind of drift away. Like, at what point did you feel like it was starting to kind of lose the plot?
Yeah, really, after Wind of Change, you could see the direction, Klaus obviously was all for it to go this direction, but in my heart, I'm still a hard rock guy, So for me, I wanted to rock more than go now in ballad land,
Mm-hmm.
For me, there was nothing to do anymore from a creativity point, So, so I said to myself, well, you have to do something else, Herman. That's exactly what I did, So when I look back on it, there's nothing to regret, really. Look at the band now. As Michael Schenker said in every interview, what have they done after Herman left, There's no more hits, no more the same. The fans write me many emails, why don't you do something like you did before on Animal Magnetism, Blackout, Love Drive, and this kind of albums, which were poor rock albums.
Right.
Love Drive, this, And this is where my heart is, and that's what I wanted to do, And as you can hear in the album here, this is really a tribute to rock, really. Not only to the 80s. These were the best rock songs, really, in the last 60 years, so to speak, in my opinion.
Also, too, because you were comrades, you were brothers, you were family for a long time.
That is the thing which I don't understand, that nobody phones me ever, nobody says anything to me. So they seem to be happy with their life. So as Paul McCartney says, let it be, there will be an answer, For me, I'm still making music and I'm going to do music until the day I die, But now I'm 75 years old, so I don't want to do this till I'm 100. I don't want to become 100. If I become 90, I will be a happy man. But 100 means I will be hurt very much. I saw my grandfather at 96, and he said to me, I don't wish you anything bad, but I don't want you to become as old as I am now. It hurts. That tells you the whole story.
Your art with the Seeing Tree, I love the concept of the mixed media. The painting and music together is quite, it's such a great marriage together.
We had a show even many years back with my wife called Art Meets Music. And we had Ronnie Wood in the show. We had his paintings, showed it to the people. And after the show, Ronnie saw the pictures, and we played a live show with 6 dancers. I think those kind of shows work very good, You don't play a big arena, but you have maybe 1,000, 2,000 people who love this kind, of shows.
Well, I have to say that I love the fact that you're creative, that you're still creative, that you're still doing it. And as a longtime fan, Herman, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. Thank you so much, Herman. I appreciate you.
Bye for now.